of introducing our guest speaker this morning. Brenda Jank is the founder, CEO of an organization called Run Hard, Rest Well. You'll be hearing more about that and more about her story here. It started about 10 years ago. It has gone on to become a nationally and internationally known organization that is really leading the way in the church on how to rest well, how to pattern our lives after Jesus so that we can run hard after the things that Jesus has asked us to be about. I'm really excited that we get to have you here this morning. I'll let you kind of tell more about yourself, but would you give a warm welcome to Brenda Jank?
Oh my goodness, it is an absolute joy to be here with you today. This whole process, as we've worked up to this, as we have people praying for this, my name is Brenda Jank, and I'm the founder and director of Run Hard, Rest Well. We know how to run hard. I'm looking at a group. We don't know how to rest well. Raise your hand if at any point, in any way, this last week you have felt tired. Raise your hand, keep it up, look around the room. All right, you have come to the right place today. And to have an opportunity to be a part of a community like this that is passionate about gospel advance, about disciples who make disciples, and is an absolute joy to me. So I'm gonna guess that you are familiar with this feeling, both at work, at school, at home, and you are not alone. What do? Run Hard, Rest Well, we champion rest because people are tired of being tired. We equip leaders to position their people to thrive, to live that best life. And then we watch God transform lives. We are thought leaders in the arena of restorative wellness, and that's what we're gonna be talking about today. We're also passionate about change theory. Change theory tells us that often to learn something new, we have to unlearn something that isn't working. And when it comes to resting well, it's not necessarily working real well in our lives. My friend Lisa has 5 kids. Her oldest was Landon. Landon was a super responsible kid, and by the time he was 8 years old, Landon was loading the dishwasher. Grew up, went to college here at Grace. That's how I know Landon, because we have 2 kids that graduated from Grace. And he went home. He was away for about 3 months, came home for a wonderful weekend. That Friday night after dinner, Lisa turned to Isaac, her other son, and said, "Isaac, it's your turn for dishes tonight." And Landon said, "Man, I haven't had to wash a dish for 3 months. I'll wash dishes." So Lisa and Landon make their way to the kitchen. Landon is finishing up the dishwasher, shuts the door, is turning the dial, and Lisa says, "Hey, Landon, you forgot the soap." And Landon froze and slowly turned and looked at his mom. "The dishwasher needs soap?" He had been washing dishes for 10 years and had never once put soap in the dishwasher. So I'm here today as a bonus to save you money. You don't have to buy that dishwasher soap. No one in that family ever died. They're still alive. But I am here today to remind us that if we don't insert God's plan for rest in our life, that something in us will die, something that Jesus knows is precious beyond. This is my remarkable crew of kids that Tim and I have been blessed with. Note, there are 4 boys. There's gonna be a special place in heaven of moms of 4 boys, and it's going to be a couch. And I can't wait. This is my crew more recently, and I am one blessed mama. Before Tim and I were even married, we knew that we wanted to adopt waiting medical needs kids. And so in the course of our life, we said yes to a child with sickle cell anemia, and we said yes to a child with cerebral palsy. What we got in this crew of kids is sickle cell anemia, stroke disorder, a rare liver lung disease that required oxygen, autism, reactive attachment disorder, spina bifida, hydrocephalus, fetal alcohol, bipolar 2, and 2 cases of metastasized cancer. I share this because this message that we're going to explore, that comes from God's heart, not mine, is the real deal. If God had not started getting a hold of my heart 34 years ago, I would not be here today. I would be buried 6 feet under. So, oh my goodness, I forgot the happy timer. Can someone set the timer? Do you have a clock? I forgot. 22. Yep, thank you. Sorry about that. It's with my clicker, and this is your clicker, so I forgot to pull it out. You're gonna like the happy timer when it goes off. Why do we do what we do? Because Jesus loves people, and he has commissioned us to deliver good news to people who know Jesus and people who don't know Jesus. What do? We inspire believers to tackle the vice grip of persistent fatigue by offering God-honoring navigational strategies that position us to run with passion and rest on purpose for a lifetime of vibrancy, good work, and kingdom advance, gospel advance. We are passionate about our good and God's glory because God is passionate about our good and his glory. And what brings him glory is gospel advance, kingdom advance. There's 4 critical things. In order for that to happen, we have to be connected with Jesus and connected with each other. We have to be rested, empowered, and sent. Today, we get to focus in on the rest part. Look at John 20. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. We are passionate about getting God's feet out on the street, in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces, in our schools. We have a job to do. That casts the vision. Whoops, did I go the right way? Yes. So we partner with pastors and churches and mission organizations and denominations to equip God's people around the world to live well rested, so that we won't serve with a self-imposed limp, but will be operating in a power not our own that is mountain moving and miraculous. We know, love, and serve the author of rest, and yet often God's people are some of the least rested people on the planet. We absolutely love John 4:6. Jesus, tired as he was, sat down by the well. It was about noon. So if you have ever been tired before lunchtime, you're in good company. You're not alone. Jesus, this one verse, it reminds us that Jesus recognized his limits. Jesus lived in a human body. By God's design, we human bodies have limits. He was aware of his own fatigue, and he did something about it. He took a break, unafraid and unashamed, and Jesus says to us today, follow me, follow my lead. So, we are used to mountain climbs, and Jesus invites us up the hill. Today is gonna be refreshing. We're gonna have fun, we're gonna laugh. Right now, I'm gonna guess, it's only 9:30 in the morning, but the level of muscle tension probably already in your neck and shoulders, we just hold it there. So I'm gonna just invite you to intentionally relax your shoulders, relax your neck muscles. And I'm gonna invite you to take some slow, deep breaths through your nose. When we simply intentionally take a deep breath through our nose, we actually get more oxygen to the lowest lobes of our lungs. And when we do that, we get more oxygen into our blood, and it becomes a happy party for our brain and our body. The more oxygen, the better. So just some slow, deep breaths. All right, at the top of your packet is my contact information. It's the website to Run Hard, Rest Well, my email, my cell phone. But there's also a question that says, write or draw, what does overload and exhaustion feel like in your life right now? Draw a picture, write some words. Some of you are still writing. Keep writing. For those of you that are done, whether you wrote it or just thought it, What picture did you draw? Could I have a couple of people tell me what landed on your paper, words or picture? Anxious, everything. Yeah, there's too much. It's not containable. It's all fallen all over the place. Thank you. A treadmill on an incline. Oh my goodness. And we're huffing and puffing. We're huffing and puffing. Okay. A really loaded truck. Like the burden, the weight. Like there is a universal feel that we are all familiar with in a major way. Thank you for sharing. When it comes to wellness, we don't need another paradigm. We need a paradigm shift that comes from the heart of God. Restorative wellness is a new paradigm. It's a new perspective. God gives us permission to run hard, but to also strategically stop and rest guilt-free. If you like to fill in blanks, you're welcome to. And if that's not your thing, no problem. It's basically bucket theory 101. We can't give what we don't have. And I am looking at an incredible group of God's people who know how to pour into others. But do we have strategies, guilt-free, to really refill our bucket? Restorative wellness comes from Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall lack nothing. And that nothing includes time and energy. I may not have all the time and energy that I want to do what I want to do or what other people want me to do, but for what Jesus calls me to do, I will have all the time and energy I need. And how does he do it? He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. Restorative wellness. Why are you tired? For everyone in this room, it's very unique, but universal to all. Our to-do lists usually get bigger, larger every week. They don't ever go down. Calendar overload. Do you have much margin and white space on your calendar? Crisis. Crisis in our own lives, crisis in the lives of people we love. And the truth is, why are we tired? People. We are people, but people can drain us dry. And this is a really powerful list, but we are not going to address anything on this list today because it's the wrong question. We have to stop asking why I am tired, and we have to start asking the question, why are we as God's people so tired? Number one, we have no model and no mentor for people who run hard and rest well. We don't rest well because we don't see other people do it. Think about the people who have most impacted your life, especially when you were younger. I'm going to guess that those people were probably people that ran hard. If you had models and mentors who ran hard, rested well, and taught you how to do that, and some of you might be able to say yes. Will you raise your hand right now? Okay, look around the room right now. I think I saw three hands maybe. Not as many hands as before. More is caught than taught. And that's what we're trying to raise up right now, is a renewed community commitment to God's plan, running hard and resting well. Number two, the church through the last few decades has stopped teaching about rest in a way that's truly transformative. There is more and more really powerful stuff coming out, and we're so grateful for that, but it's still not creating this dynamic, multiplying impact on persistent fatigue. Many of us are still so tired. And because the church has stopped through the decades teaching about rest, we've adopted a faulty view of rest, the world's view of rest. And what is the world's view of rest? Number one, rest is foolish. If you snooze, yes, rest is shameful. I should not need it. I'm a high-capacity person. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that is powerful and beautiful and true, but it can never be an excuse for our perpetual overload and exhaustion. Rest feels selfish. How dare I take a break? There are real needs around me. There are opportunities around me. And there are, but we have to be spirit-led and not guilt-driven. And in the church, rest can feel sinful. And I believe that makes our Father weep. And so what's God's view of rest? Rest is holy. It's the first thing that God called holy in Genesis 2:3. And God blessed the Sabbath day and called it holy because on that day he stopped working and he rested. What we think is shameful, God calls holy, set apart. Number 2, rest is non-negotiable. The idea of strategic hard stops was wired into creation with sleep and that first day, that rhythm of rest. And then on Mount Sinai, in the commands, God said, guys, it's not just an invitation and a pattern, but it's a command. I want you to be people of rest. Number 3, rest is a rhythm. It is truly a rhythm tied to our very best work. When we are not well rested, we are well aware that the people and the projects and the things around us are not getting our best. And the guilt of that is hard. Number 4, rest is rewarding. Write down Isaiah 58 and circle it. I think it's 11 to 14. When God talks about rest, he uses words like joy, delight, feasting, inheritance, soaring on the heights. There is a reward to resting by God's plan that we as his people are not familiar with. And finally, rest is a community commitment. God was brilliant in the command to rest. He said, guys, I want you to rest, but I want your sons and daughters to rest. I want the people in your household. I want people visiting your country. I even want your animals to rest. God knew that it had to be a community commitment because otherwise the guilt would eat us alive. So I was born and bred a type A person. I knew that, but I didn't know how type A I was until I had kids who were old enough to use the microwave. And so, tall enough. So I had a friend, Peggy, over for coffee, and we're talking away, and one of my kids comes up with some food on a plate and says, Mom, should I put this in the microwave for 11 seconds or 22 seconds? And this was about 25 years ago when there weren't all the fancy quick buttons. And I said, I think it'll need 22 seconds. And Peggy looked at me and was like, Brenda, what in the world? Why not 10 and 20? Why 11 and 22? I could not believe that an adult human being was even asking me this question. Peggy, why in the world would you ever waste your time and energy moving your finger to 2 different buttons? I have a couple kindred spirits. To 2 different buttons on the keypad when you could save time and energy. So you guys are listening to a crazy woman. Like, that's how passionate I am about productivity and effectiveness. And I think that's why God gave us 5 kids, because that kind of goes out the window. I am no less type A. I am passionate about the work that God calls us as his people to do. But I am equally passionate about resting well, and it has changed my life. There are so many stories. So my story begins with burnout. I was working in a church in an urban setting in the Chicago area, and oh my goodness, the needs and the opportunities were constant. With much pride, I was living off of 4 hours of sleep. I pitied the poor fools that needed more sleep because I could do more for God. Did that for 10 years, and it devastated my body. I was soaring, like nothing seemed wrong. And then boom, I had a medical crisis that laid me flat for 8 weeks. And during that time, someone gave me a book by Marva Dawn called Keeping the Sabbath Holy, WHOLLY. And I was blessed to grow up in the church. But my church tradition really taught that to honor the Sabbath meant to go to a worship service. And there was nothing about rest. I thought to honor the Sabbath was to go to a worship service and go home and eat pot roast with your family. And if you did that, you were good to go. My dad was quite a type A, and there was still plenty to do. So that was a wake-up call. I was passionate about God's word, and I was like, there is something to arrest. So I became the most faithful, miserable Sabbath keeper the world has ever known. My Sabbath rest day was Monday. And all week long, I would look forward to that day, and then I would land in it, and it was emotionally messy. I lived to work. I loved to work. I was single. I didn't know what it felt like or looked like. God, when he begins to pursue our heart with this message, he pursues our heart. By his goodness, 1 year later, our senior pastor went to a Eugene Peterson conference, came home and said to our staff of 5, hey guys, we're gonna start personal retreat. Every month for 6 months, 8 hours, church time, we're gonna do it. After that, you and Jesus can figure out the pace. And so type A that I was the first to sign up. And my initial reaction was like, yes, I wanna do this. And then a little bit of panic. I love my time in the Word. I love my time with Jesus, but it's not quite 8 hours. I'm an extrovert. And I thought, what am I gonna do at this retreat center? So I got a nifty idea. I was taking a group of kids on a mission trip to the Appalachian Mountains in the early 90s. And I thought, you know what? I'll be in the Word. I'll plan all the Bible studies and all the devotions before, during, and after. This will be a great personal retreat. So I packed 2 bags, was heading out the door, and his name was Jock. Jock was walking into the church office, and he said, Brenda, he kind of looked at me, Brenda, where are you going? And I said, well, today's my first personal retreat. And he's like, are you bringing work? And without any shame, I'm like, yes, I am gonna get so much done. And he said, no, you're not. And in so many words, he said, Brenda, today I want you to rest well. I want you to listen to Jesus, for Jesus, like you probably haven't in a long time. And I want you to produce nothing, like you meet with Jesus. And you know what? That day changed my life. For many of us, not all of us, for some of us, our homes are a safe place, oasis. But for many of us, our homes represent a lot of work and maybe stress. And so tip number 1, sometimes we need to get away. And it doesn't have to be a retreat center. It can be a coffee shop, a park, your backyard, but we need to step away. So what we're learning about rest, we get to feel it. And as that day, as I felt it, I was able to begin to bring that into my Sabbath keeping in a restorative way. There are so many stories, because boy, you learn how to rest as a single person. And then you get married, and that changes everything. And you have to relearn how to rest and find the right rhythms. And then you start adding kids. And so it's a process. It's a lifelong journey. What works right now may not work in 3 months or 3 years. And so we stay committed, like, God, what do you have for me? What does rest look like in this season of my life? So the definition of rest I came up with 30 years ago. Rest is not a reward. You cannot earn it, most resist it. It will never be convenient. Rest is a rhythm ordained by God and a responsibility for those committed to God's best. But better than any definition of is God's definition. 6 days, do your work, but on the 7th day, do not work, so that all might be refreshed. To rest well is to do what refreshes. God, once again, was absolutely brilliant, because there is only one rule, one basic rule when it comes to resting by God's plan. And it's the word stop. Stop doing what consumes your time, energy, and attention. Turn from that and do something that is life-giving, refreshing. Whether it's just a matter of a couple minutes, whether it's an hour. Like, this message is not chocolate cake, massages, and bubble baths. Like, we're gonna get nitty-gritty, real life, completely real life. And so, this was brilliant, because every single one of us in this room is refreshed in unique ways. And more often than not, we are more familiar with what entertains us, what amuses us, what distracts us, numbs us, medicates us. We're not familiar with what fills us with joy and more energy as we head back into life. And so we have God's permission. Like, we're gonna become familiar with what What is refreshing for me? So for some of us, it's a 5K run and half marathon and a good book, gardening, cooking, time with a friend, a long nap. There's no right way or wrong way as we explore rest. So what refreshes you? Look at the bottom of your page. People, right now, name the people who energize you. Who do you love spending time with? Maybe it's people close by, maybe it's people far away. Who are those people that are, they re-energize you? Places, where do you feel safe, welcomed, relaxed? Where do you wander and wonder outside in the majesty of God's creation? And pastimes, what activities, hobbies, creative endeavors, quiet, outside, what things refill your bucket? Take some time now and write those down. If you are still writing, continue to write, because this is a really important list. This is your homework for the next week, the next month. But homework assignment number 1 is, who is someone committed to your well-being, to your vibrancy? Can you share this list with that person? Because we're going to be working on creating a community commitment. And so others need to know so that they can cheer us on. They can go, hey, you told me that your favorite person to connect up with is your cousin Eric. When was the last time you saw Eric? Those kind of questions create the community commitment. And then you ask them, the people that you're charged with their vibrancy, help them explore what is truly bucket filling and create that community commitment. So, restorative wellness invites us to embrace this paradigm shift of a guilt-free rest, but we also need to explore the impact of chronic cortisol overload. So we're on page 2 right now. This first part, we talked about the why of restorative wellness. The why is both compelling. God, by his design, invites me, commands me to rest in ways that refill my bucket. But this message, the why, is also convicting, and that's what we're going to be talking about right now. What's the impact of our overload? We are winded, worn, and weary. Some of us in this room are so weary, we are wounded. Our hearts bear scars from a pace of life that we have been running that has been unsustainable for far too long. And some of us are so wounded, we are wounding other people, or we are wounding ourselves. Stress is not the enemy. Stress gets a really bad rap in our world, but I want you to think about a violin. If the strings on that violin have no stress and no tension, it can't make the beautiful music that it is capable of making. Too much stress and tension, and it will pop. The real enemy in our lives is chronic cortisol overload. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and it also can get a really bad rap, but it's something God made, and so there's a lot of goodness in it. When we have to do really hard work, brain or body, our body is flooded with cortisol, which allow us with more energy and voom and focus to do that hard work. But by God's design, our body cannot handle a constant onslaught of cortisol. In our 24/7 world, in our go, 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 our constant stimulation, we have a level of cortisol that is almost constant, whether it's a fire hose or a slow drip. And when cortisol is constant, there's no hard stops to give our bodies a breather, to allow our body to release some calming, restorative hormones. Cortisol damages every single organ and every single body system at a devastating level. 70% of all medical intervention nowadays comes from preventable lifestyle diseases. And cortisol is at the root. Because we go, 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 cortisol is high. And it's setting us up for the high blood pressure, the diabetes, the heart disease, certain kinds of cancer. Like, oh my goodness, it's the cortisol is the culprit. And if we wrestle with those things, like no shame or blame, because we have been handed the wrong deal, a faulty message of run hard and run harder and run harder and run harded. And today we're gonna invite each other to something more. So it is not a crime to be tired. We should be tired because we are doing really important, good work, whether it's paid or not. But it is a crime if we are always tired, if we have no breathers. Every single night, every single week, we put gasoline in our cars. Every single night, we recharge our phones. Why do we do those? Because if we don't, they will die. Why do we think we're any different? By God's design, we need to refuel and recharge. It's how He has wired us. And so when we do not rest well, red flags begin to fly in our life. We have warning systems. There is a big price tag in our lives for red flags. If you look near the top of the page 2, when cortisol is high, it impacts us relationally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Look at the price tag for relational impact of high cortisol. We end up with unsatisfying relationships. We wrestle with guilt, loneliness. We become isolated, needy, disengaged, and guarded. Physically, we wrestle with sleep issues, immune dysfunction, hormone imbalance, blood pressure issues, weight gain, early death. Spiritually, we wrestle with diminishing joy, restlessness, discontentment, feelings of inadequacy, dissolving sense of purpose, and time with Jesus goes flying out the window. Emotionally, we wrestle with irritability, anger, anxiety, depression, addictive behaviors, blame, shame, and complain becomes the trio of our life. We are familiar with everything on this list in our own lives and the lives of people we love. And we're gonna get back to that. But first, we need to remind each other that masks are really cute on kids. COVID masks were not so much fun, but we are all familiar with emotional masks. We wear them pretending that everything is okay when things aren't okay. And there's a time and place for those, but God has called us to a depth of relationships where we are safe and we are able to take off those masks. I went to my first AA meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous, when I was 16 years old. My mom was an alcoholic. If the church doors were open, we were in church. Can you imagine growing up with a mom who's an alcoholic and you're in church multiple times a week? We learned to wear masks and pretend that everything was okay when it wasn't okay. That AA meeting changed my life. I sat there and I was amazed. Here was a group of adults, passionate, ready to say, I want something new, I want change in my life, and it began with honest inventory, authenticity, taking off the masks, owning the hard and the pain and the sin of their lives. And I got angry. I thought, why was this not the church experience that I was growing up in? And it has so impacted my life. and Run Hard, Rest Well, we pray that all of you, right people, right times, that there are safe people for us to be real and to be honest. In all of our lives, there is good, bad, and ugly. So there was a ton of good in my life. Like there was a ton of bad growing up, but there was a ton of good. I made it through my childhood feeling loved by my parents, despite a lot of hard. In my life right now, there's a lot of good. There's also a lot of bad, a lot of hard. We define bad and hard are those things that come into our life that we have no control over, that are really painful, that turn our lives upside down. But there is also ugly in our lives. And what's the definition of ugly? Reacting in ways that hurt and dishonor the people around us or hurt and dishonor ourselves. And for some of us, it's about being overreactive to situations. And some of us, it's being inactive, like we distance ourselves. So it's easy for me to stand up here and talk about my mom and her drinking. Through a home Bible study group, my mom's faith took new forms. And my mom was one of the most passionate disciple makers I know, from age 60 to 70 when she died. Like, yeah, we are all a work in progress. What does ugly look like in my life? So by the time I was 12 years old, growing up in this dysfunctional home, I had read every parenting book in our public library. I listened to Focus on the Family every single night at 9 o'clock at night. I had dreams of the family that I wanted. And here God gives us, in 6.5 years, 5 miraculous kids. And I began wrestling with a level of irritability and frustration and anger that was not good and healthy for my kids. It was destructive and painful. And Jesus introduced to my life a come to Jesus moment. And what I learned in AA changed me. I recognized for months, years, I was memorizing scripture on anger and controlling my tongue. I knew I needed to name my pain and my ugly out loud. James 5 tells us, confess our sins to one another so we might be healed. It was healing. It was hard, some of the hardest work of my life, of describing what ugly looked like in my life at that time. But by God's plan, that sets us up for transformation. So, yeah, this is the crew, this beautiful, miraculous crew. They're the ones that paid the price for my overload and my exhaustion. So what does God say to us today? That it is okay to not be okay. That's why we have a rescue redeemer. That's why Jesus came. In him we are free and made alive. It is inviting and freeing to live life unmasked, to take off those masks in safe places among safe people and to be real, because God does a miraculous work. And transformation requires transparency, and ongoing transformation requires ongoing transparency. It's not one and done. And so when we do not rest well, because we don't know how, so no shame or guilt, like it hasn't been modeled for us. What red flags fly in our lives? What do I personally see and recognize? And what do other people have to endure? And so we're gonna explore those questions right now. Hard questions, good questions. That top box, what does cortisol overload look like in your life? Circle, list, underline from the list above, or rewrite the words. I love what Dan Allender reminds us. We are more beautiful to God than we can ever imagine, and our sin is uglier than our greatest fear. And when cortisol is high in your life and you have few hard stops, who pays the price? Is it others? Is it yourself? Is it neighbors or coworkers who don't know Jesus, but we never have time to get to know them, to just love on them, to show up in beautiful ways. Who pays the price for our overload? And once again, our prayer is that right time, right place, that this might be a list to share with someone. All right, my friends, that was a pretty deep dive because this message is both compelling, it's life-giving, but it's also convicting. Like, I want a rest that by God's design, but I also need a rest. The red flags in my life show it. But we're going to come up for air, and we've got a question. Okay, whoops. Oh, my. All right, so I'm going to go back. All right. The slide PowerPoint is missing something. So we need to ask the question, is rest possible? Some of you right now might be going, Brenda, I am so glad that rest is a part of your life, but you don't know my life. Yeah, like this is not possible. But it also hit me that our happy timer didn't go off. Did it go off? Oh, I didn't hear it. I didn't notice it. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. All right. So while I talk right now, begin to stretch a little bit. Get your hands in the air. Like, oh, it feels good. Scientific research tells us that the new smoking in our world is sitting. Some of us don't sit a lot, but some of us sit a lot, and it's as dangerous to our bodies as smoking is. But know what? We're not going to just get up and have a little polite stretch and then sit down. NASA astronaut-type research has told us that we actually need to move against gravity. So we're going to do some anti-gravity moves, because when we do those, it will cause our body to release calming, restorative hormones. We're just standing up and stretching doesn't do that. We need to work against gravity. So we have two options, and you're welcome to go in the aisles if you want. If you are a power jumper, I'm going to invite you to do a power jump. So squat down low and power jump up into the air. There we go. We got some good job. If you are no longer a power jumper, which I have not been a power jumper for a while, I have really bad knees, I'm going to invite you to do a run hard, rest well starburst. And if we have any sleeping babies, you might want to step out because we're going to get really noisy in a minute. So a run hard, rest well starburst is we're going to go as low as we can go. And then we're going to get our hands way up in the air, and we can just go on our tiptoes, or we can do a little jump. But the best thing you can do to truly work against gravity is you lift a leg in the air. Okay? We are gonna get as many of our body parts up in the air. And when our hands are way up in the air, we're gonna go woo really loud. I have a feeling that this group is gonna excel at this. I have this sense. And so we're going to do 3 of these, and if for some chance we're not loud enough, we are going to keep doing them until we get loud enough. So we're going to shake the rafters, okay? So on the count of 3, and feel free to get in the aisle. Yep. And if anyone wants to get a picture or video of this, it's lots of fun. feel free to grab your camera and snap some pictures. So, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, down, and woo! All right, 1, 2, 3, down, woo! 1, 2, 3, down, woo! Wasn't that great? Like, we are awake. We are awake and alive. Like, these are absolutely life-giving. And when we do this, feel free to stay standing. Feel free, like, I want this to be restful and life-giving for you. And I can't sit for a long time. So if you enjoy standing, feel free to, like, just lean against the wall. Or you can come back to your seat, or you can just stay standing. But research, like, we need that kind of movement. Do you know they have discovered that people who are wrestling with pre-diabetes, that if every 30 minutes, they get up and walk, move their arms, do these anti-gravity breaks for 3 minutes, they can move themselves out of pre-diabetes, no matter how high. Like, we need movement. And so, if Pastor Reg ever gets a little bit more winded on a Sunday morning, maybe someone can set the happy timer and you can get everybody doing. Because what that also did, it flooded our brain. You will be more attentive. You will be more able to take in this information with this. And so I neglected to hear the timer. Usually every 20 minutes, we have groups out of our seats. So we're almost wrapping up this time, but we will do more. We are not done with our anti-gravity moves. So you guys did a great job. Anyway, so the question, is rest possible? We're gonna do a brain science experiment right now. On the screen, it's supposed to be a picture, but I goofed, of a circle. Imagine a circle and a dot in the middle, okay? And I'm gonna invite you to make that, but there's some rules before you do it. Before you do it, there's rules. So circle and a dot in the middle. The rules are, number one, once your pen hits the paper, it cannot lift off the paper. It must stay in constant contact, firm contact, okay? You can't lightly draw a little line. If you have a click-it pen, you can't click it. You can't lay it flat and drag it. Firm, perpendicular contact. You have about 10 seconds to make a circle and a dot on draw a circle and a dot on your page. Go for it. And some of you right now are going, Brenda, you really are crazy. Do you know this? No, okay. A circle and a dot. All right, who did it by following the rules? Okay, what did you do? Okay, you know what? So yes, without seeing it, it's really hard. That would have been a great idea. The dot has to be right in the middle of the circle. But you guys didn't get to see it. Okay, yes. What did you do? A spiral. A spiral is, although there would be all clear, but I'm liking the creativity. Yes. Yes, that's the most complicated way. There's a way to fold. You turn down your paper and you put the dot at the end of the point, and you put your pen on and you do a circle, and then you finish your circle. Very good, very good. There are 6 different ways to do this. I'm gonna tell you 2 other ways. Number 1, you could have circled a dot or a bullet on your page. Moan, groan. Better yet, someone could have put a dot on your paper, and you're all close enough to someone, you could have asked a neighbor to circle the dot. Or you could have used 2 pens. 1 pen. All right? So, if I look at this, the verdict is rest is actually possible, even though it feels impossible, when it is embraced biblically, creatively, and with teamwork. With teamwork. Sometimes we need tag team help. Sometimes we need people cheering us on. So that was our science lesson for the day. And now we need a history lesson for the day. So prior to 1897 and the invention of the light bulb, sleep was protected. We used to get 2.5 hours more sleep than we do now because of the light bulb. Prior to 1960s, U.S. economics honored rest. Businesses were not open on Sunday, and rhythm was protected. Prior to 1980s, children's activities were more limited to the afternoon, and so evenings and weekends were more protected for families. Prior to 1990s, access to information was more limited. We didn't have the internet. Boundaries on home and work life were more protected. And prior to 2000, people weren't accessible 24/7, and sanity was protected. We have no more rhythm in our life, in our world whatsoever. And that's what restorative wellness is all about. Learning how to rest is not this vague, fuzzy feeling. We have to rest in 4 distinct ways. We need to rest relationally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. When we do not rest well because we don't know how, we become relationally weary, disengaged, physically depleted, spiritually dry, emotionally exhausted. When we begin to rest well, we become more happy, more healthy, more hopeful, more holy. Our definition of holiness is being on the growth track toward joy. When the Holy Spirit infuses our life with joy at the core of us, the best comes out. And how does this take place? With 4 rhythms that we see throughout Scripture, Old Testament and New Testament. We see the first 2 highlighted in the story of creation, the idea of a strategic stop during the week and sleep. And then Jesus was the poster child of stillness. Be still and know that I am God. And solitude, stepping away from the fray, because minutes matter, hours make a difference, and a day away delivers. So we need to understand all of this in the context of the fact that every single week we are given 168 hours of life to live. And there are only 3 ways that we can live this life or invest the hours of our week. We can work with joy and excellence. We can rest with joy and excellence. And we can waste our time. Those are the only 3 ways. What's the definition of wasting our time? Choosing to escape excessively. What's the number 1 form of escape for many people today? Cell phone, a screen of some kind, whether it's gaming, social media, athletics, Netflix binges. And there is nothing wrong with some time on a screen, but if that's our only tool to not be working, there's a problem. The problem with escape is that we will always come back empty-handed. It's not bucket filling. We may not be working, but it's not refilling our bucket. And too much leads to overuse and addiction, which becomes painful in our lives and the painful of the lives of other people. So today is all about stopping and taking inventory of our own hearts. Are we willing to exchange our go-to escape mechanisms, whether it's a screen or whether it's other things, for God-honoring, predictable, planned, and prioritized rhythms that restore and give us life? And so as we begin to wrap up this time, we are going to take, look on page 3. Born in 1909 was a woman who used numbers in the 1950s, and she is responsible for saving millions of people's lives because of numbers. Her name is Virginia Apgar, and she created an objective test that's given to newborn babies at 1 week or 1 minute and 5 minutes of life. And because of that objective test, babies who are in distress get the extra support they need which in turn saved many lives. Prior to that, babies were only evaluated subjectively. The physician, the midwife, the relative would just go, I think this baby is doing okay, and swaddle the baby up. In our life, in the church, we need an objective test to see how we're doing, to really feel it all out. So on page 3, at the top there, it says, the truth will set you free, but first it might make you miserable. Our job here is to be 100% honest. This test, this inventory does not define you in any way. It's a snapshot of your life today. If you took it 4 weeks ago, it might look completely different. 2 months from now, it just tells you where you're at. We are only defined by the love and power of God. So will you right now take this test, but actually before you take it, I want to close with one last story, and then you're going to take the test, and we're going to take a 5-7 minute break to get coffee, use the restroom, and then we'll come back together. So my last story for this time, this is our crew of kids. Our son Joshua, who's on the right, he's our oldest. Josh was born with sickle cell anemia. He had a stroke when he was 5, which required 400 blood transfusions to keep him from having any more strokes. He's on the autism spectrum, and he ended up with a rare liver lung disease called hepatopulmonary syndrome that landed him on oxygen and then in hospice care. In November, Josh will have been home with Jesus for 2 years, and he is now living his best, most miraculous life. Josh was 29 when he died. Because of the stroke and the autism, he was like our 12-year-old buddy. When Josh landed in hospice care, he's like, man, I'm not going to have as much time to do things for Jesus that I would if I would live a long time, because we thought it was going to be much shorter. Josh lived in hospice for 10 years. 9 different times we were saying goodbye to him, and God was not done with him. But instead of a bucket list, Josh created a go make a difference list, go mad. And he did some really incredible things locally and big, but he was most passionate about simply sharing red diamonds wherever he would go. And you guys all have a red diamond from Josh. And when Josh shares a red diamond, he says it's red because love makes a difference. And it's a diamond because God does amazing things under heat and pressure. This message of restorative wellness is going to place you in a situation of stress and pressure, because nothing about this message is familiar. There's going to be pressures. But as this community embraces this life-giving, creates a community commitment, there are going to be rewards in our lives, in the lives of our kids and our grandkids, our neighbors, our coworkers. And so, with that, my friends, on the back counter, the welcome counter, there's some care cards, and you're welcome to pick one up. We would always pass things out with a little care card that would remind people what it was all about, along with a website. And his friend Adam made him a website. Wayne 15 TV in Fort Wayne did a 4-minute story on Josh. So if you visit the website, you can get a little glimpse of our Joshy Bean. But with that, it is time for us to take a break, and we'll come back in about 10:37. 10:37. Maybe 10:40. Yeah. Stretch your legs, step outside. Please feel free to, stand up and stretch one more time. Some people need to walk back, like just do some stretches, anti-gravity moves. Ooh, we've got some moves going over here on that. Woo! Woo! I love it. I love it. As we begin to come back together, I realized that I forgot to share with you that Josh, after he would share one diamond, he would always say, "Can I give you more? Because I bet you know someone who could really use some hope or some encouragement." And so back on the welcome, there's some bowls of extra diamonds. So take some, and then there's those care cards back there that you can grab. Back there also is, this is called a day away. So for 32 years, my husband Tim and I were at Camp Luther Haven, which is about 45 minutes from here, not far. You go to Columbia City and you head up on 9, about 15 minutes. It's not far away. Anyway, camp opens their doors at no cost for personal retreat. We have hotel-like accommodations. It's typically available from like the third week in August to like the third week in May. Summer is really busy because it's a camp and a retreat center, so there aren't any beds to share. But if you are looking for a half day, full day, or overnight personal retreat, pick up a brochure back there and feel free to share the word. No cost, the kitchen is available, and there's some great program material. That's kind of how Run Hard, Rest Well began, was really trying to get people recognizing camp was that quiet place off the beaten path. And I'm gonna set our happy timer, and we're gonna like when it goes off. And with that, we are gonna start on the bottom of page 4. And this is the how. After the why, first session was the why, comes the how and the hope. If nothing else from our time together, if you remember that refilling our bucket is not selfish, it is strategic, and it is sacred. And if you like that little picture, there's postcards back there on the table. You're welcome to grab one for your refrigerator or your desk. There's some postcards. So will you read with me together slowly this paragraph right now? I couldn't believe that I could actually understand what I was reading, using the incredible power of the human mind, according to research. Very good. Isn't that fun? The first time I saw that paragraph, I laughed out loud. I'm like, that looks like my life. Like, there's no way I'm gonna make it through. But you do with those 2 anchors of first word, last word. You can make it through the crazy. And we are gonna be exploring the 4 rhythms of restoration, which is Sabbath, rest, sleep, stillness, and solitude. But there are 2 key. These 4 rhythms contain the 2 components that truly set us up for vibrancy. And what those are is we need, as God's people, to cultivate connection and reduce cortisol overload. Cultivate connection with Jesus, connection with quiet, connection with each other, and reduce cortisol in ways that only take minutes, hours a day. And we're gonna be exploring some of that. And now we're gonna be moving on to page 4. And there's not gonna be any more PowerPoint. We're just gonna be working with our packet because this is your take home. This is the how do we make this. This is where the rubber hits the road. So we have some definitions. Sabbath relationally reconnects us. Sabbath is a guilt-free time set apart to reconnect with God, people, and priorities we hold dear. It is carefree freedom to pray and play unhindered and unhurried. When my daughter Anna was about 7 years old, she said, "Mommy, am I gonna have to use the word hurry when I'm a mommy?" And I was like, "Why are you asking, sweetie?" because I don't like how you act when you use that word. Hurry up, we're running late. Get your shoes on, get out in the van. If nothing else, our Sabbath rest day is an invitation to go at a pace that's conducive to our souls. Okay? It's much more than that, but that can be a beginning point. I could teach probably 3 or 4 hours on Sabbath rest, and we're gonna do this like in 7 minutes. So it's just giving you a little snapshot. Small group Bible studies are gonna go through our book, Vantage Point. They're in the back. They're available for $12 if you buy them from the church. Amazon is $15, so you save money right now if you buy them here at the church. Here are some quick tidbits that are kind of off the grid. So circle Psalm 92. I'm gonna want you to go back and visit that sometime. The directions above Psalm 92 is that this is a psalm, a song for the Sabbath day. And the entire psalm is beautiful. But look at verse 14. They will flourish. They will stay fresh and green. I hear in that anti-burnout. And it's tied to Sabbath keeping. Circle Ezekiel 20. If you want to be convicted about your Sabbath keeping, read Ezekiel 20. We are familiar with Jehovah Jireh, God provides. Jehovah Rapha, God heals. Are we familiar with Jehovah Makadeshim? Comes from Exodus 31. You must observe the Sabbath so that you will know that I am Jehovah Makadeshim, the God who makes you holy, the God who sets you apart for the incredible work that he has called you to be about that is different than anyone else. When it comes to our kingdom work, we cannot compare ourselves to other people because our call is going to look absolutely unique. It is about attuning our hearts and lives to Jesus for a spirit-led yeses, spirit-led no's. So we're about the best work that he has called us to do. Commit to a hard stop. So our son, Josh, who is on the autism spectrum, when he was he loved digging. He was about 10 years old. He loved digging. There was no purpose whatsoever to his digging. He was not trying to dig to China or dig a fish pond. He just loved the act. I loved that we lived out at camp, kind of isolated, because there were holes all over our front yard. And people would have and I'm sure glad we didn't live in a neighborhood because that would not have been real socially acceptable. Anyway, one day as a family, sometimes our Sabbath rest day was on Sunday and sometimes it was on Tuesday, depending on the time of year. And I think this was Saturday night. And Josh came up to me, he was about 10, he said, Mom, I haven't been digging for a long time. I think I'm gonna dig tomorrow. And I said, okay, Josh. But he said, what if people see me? They'll think I'm working. And tomorrow is our rest. But know what? I don't have to dig. I want to dig. So I bet Jesus thinks that's okay. So every single week, we have so much that we have to do that weighs on us. Our Sabbath rest time, whether it starts with 90 minutes, maybe it's not on the weekend. Maybe it is Wednesday mornings or it's Thursday afternoon. We're gonna do small steps in the right direction. In our Sabbath rest time, we are invited to get to do what we want to do, what we get to do, I think is the fill in the blank. Turning from what you have to do to what you get to do, what you want to do. Restorative wellness is about cultivating self-awareness. We need to inventory our buckets. How depleted am I? What are the contents? Is it more joy or is it more ugly? What's my level of reactivity, inactivity? And we're gonna have a tool for that we're gonna share in a bit. Next bullet, love is spelled time. Sometimes we need to truly learn to like those we love. The hardest people in our lives sometimes to love are the people who we're closest to, the people who we love. So Sabbath is hit and pause to invest in those activities and those things that are fun and enjoyable for all of us. So it's bridge building when relationships can be more tense and more stressful. Reject the guilt. If Satan can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. And he has a heyday with the guilt. Receive the gift. Alert others. So part of our community commitment is we're going to be saying out loud, like, when is going to be my Sabbath rest in this season? And maybe week by week it's different. Maybe it is on Saturday morning sometime. You wake up early. Maybe it is Sunday afternoon. Maybe it's sometime during the week. We say that out loud so that other people are protecting and encouraging our strategic Sabbath rest, our hard stop. Sabbath is all about relationships and restoring our joy, reconnect with Jesus, people, and quiet. This is just this little snapshot, but look back up at the definition, at some of those ideas, and circle and underline. What jumps out at your heart that is going to give you some tools or handles as you begin to explore this idea of a guilt-free Sabbath rest? Sleep. All right, what time did you go to bed last night? What time did you wake up this morning? Do the math. Okay, you might have to use your fingers. I usually do. Do your math. Now again, this does not define you. This is just how much sleep you got last night. We have no idea what you normally get. So there's no shame. There's no shame if you have a lot of sleep or little sleep. It's just what you got last night. If you got 7 hours, at least 7, science tells us bottom line science, 7 hours. If you got 7 hours of restorative sleep and you woke up feeling good, ready to go, maybe even without an alarm, like that's kind of ideal, but you woke up feeling good, raise your hand right now. Okay, all right, you can put your hands down. Everybody else, Pastor Reg and I work together, and in the classrooms back here, we set up cots, blankets, and pillows. And you are excused right now to go take a nap. Because sometimes the most holy thing we can do is go to bed or take a nap. Like the powerhouse of sleep, what God does in our bodies to clean it, to equip it for our best work. Of these 4 rhythms, this was my last rhythm. So you heard my 10 years of 4 hours of sleep with much pride. And then I'm like, okay, I have to learn how to sleep. I couldn't get to sleep. So I started taking 1 Benadryl, and that would make me sleepy. And then I started taking 2 Benadryl, and then that didn't work. And then my doctor put me on Ambien, and I was on Ambien for 10 years. It gave me 5.5 hours of sleep. Then it stopped, and then it was panic. And it's like, okay, God was kind of, okay, Brenda, are you ready to like really deal with this? Like, let's get to the root cause. I had undiagnosed some autoimmune issues that were playing a role. I thought if you were hypothyroid, low thyroid, which many women and some men wrestle with that I would be tired all the time. So I never asked my doctor. I had tons of energy. I lived off of a cortisol high. Like that fueled me. When cortisol is that high, it devastates our melatonin. And so my thyroid was tanked. But because it was so low, which actually when they do the number is high. When the number is high, it means you're low. My body was pumping out all this extra cortisol to make up for all the sleep that I wasn't getting. Anyway, I sleep coach people. I am so passionate. I am healthier, so much healthier at 58, 45 to 58 than I ever was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s because I am now getting restorative sleep. I am really committed. So my contact information, on our website, we have something called the Sleep Survival Guide under 3 free stuff. Read it. Everything we do is short and sweet because your time is too precious. I'm not about to waste it. So it's little snippets. I like Prevention Magazine. There's lots of good stuff in that, but it's kind of think outside the box. Another crazy thing I was doing, I was drinking too much water. That's this healthy thing, and it's really important. We need to drink water. When we are deficient by as little as 2 cups, our body produces more cortisol. Everything we're talking about today is we're gonna reduce that cortisol burden in our lives. But I was drinking 2 gallons. When you drink 2 gallons, you pant at night. My husband was always like, Brenda, like you breathe. My body was trying to get rid of the water through my breathing. That's not conducive to sleeping well. So I'm a crazy woman. I do all these weird things. So I share these weird things and some of the extra things that I've learned along the way, like walnuts. And if you ever have trouble staying asleep, there are many reasons why we have trouble staying asleep, but one can be we're not getting enough protein. If it's not a deeper medical issue or just the process of aging, upping protein, especially dinner and especially right before we go to bed. Walnuts, if you like walnuts are fabulous. If you don't have reflux and you can eat a handful of walnuts before you go to bed, but make sure you get a toothpick and pick all those nuts out of your teeth because that'll drive you crazy. Anyway, so it's ideas like this, simple, short little snippets. Anyway, why are we so passionate about sleep? Because every night we do not get 7 hours of restorative sleep. Our body will pump out up to 50% more cortisol. We do not need more cortisol whatsoever. It is very devastating to us. So power nappers, do we have any power nappers in the house? Okay, a few. Power nappers, 10 to 20 minutes. Research tells us 10 to 20 minutes. If you are dragging, you've hit a wall, or you're running hard all weekend and then you're on the weekend, or all week, on the weekend you're like, and really getting sleepy and you have more things to do, lay down, set a timer for 10 to 20 minutes. You don't even have to fall asleep. It reboots. It allows your body, it's a hard stop, to release more calming, restorative hormones. So just some simple ideas, my friends. Stillness spiritually replenishes us, planned and unplanned. Stillness is a purposeful pause in the presence of God that cultivates joy, gratitude, and a sense of purpose. We need face-to-face time with Jesus. Page, I think it's 7 and 8 of your guide. You don't need to look at it now, but at 1 o'clock, you are invited to go face-to-face to enjoy some planned stillness. And on page 7, and will there be some direction to that? A little bit of direction of stepping away. And you might be doing laps outside. Like you're welcome to go outside. You're welcome to be inside. Like go where the Spirit leads and enjoy the presence of Jesus. But bullet number 1, our faith is not a religion, it's a relationship. Relationships require time, energy, face-to-face time. Without that, they wither. The bonds aren't as strong. I remember as a kid, I was like, when I learned that Jesus prayed, I was like, what in the world? Jesus was God. Why did he pray? He didn't need to pray. He could make anything happen. Jesus prayed because he was hungry for the presence of his Father. Are we hungry for the presence of our Father? We need to ask ourselves and know this answer in different seasons of our life. What feeds my soul? For some of us, it might be time outside at sunset or sunrise, basking in the glories of God. Some of us, extended time in his word. It might be praying with people. You know, we're all introverts or extroverts. There's a continuum. And how we best, what feeds our soul might be more alone or might be with people, but we need to know, like, what makes our heart burn. And I pray that part of this journey is recognizing what sets our heart on fire and choosing to do those things. The next bullet, this is from Henry Nouwen. Silence makes us pilgrims. It guards the fire within and teaches us to listen. We have a job to do. And if there isn't enough quiet in our lives that we're not hearing the marching orders, and sometimes God is quiet. Sometimes God is quiet, and then we wait on him. But when we create quiet and stillness, there can be these spirit-led yeses and not these guilt-driven yeses. The next bullet, there's an underline, get outside. The power of simply 5 minutes outside scientifically helps your body release more calming, restorative hormones. I think we have a little rain before us, but maybe you put on your boots and you splash in the puddles. But we've had some gorgeous weather after a hot summer. So we know that walking, power walking every day is really good for us. It is better to walk outside than to walk on a treadmill or a gym. I'm grateful for those kind of things in the winter when it's a little more dangerous to be outside. But when you're outside walking, it's actually better to be walking by trees than out in open, because trees put out pheromones. And when we breathe in those pheromones, it causes our body to release calming, restorative hormones. So I want you guys to become tree huggers, okay? And my cell phone is at the top. If you would take a picture of you or some friends hugging a tree and send it to me, to my cell phone, you will make me very happy. You will make me happy. So in this 5 minutes, I share all that because in this 5 minutes, like that might be something you choose to do. Like in this next week or today sometime, I'm gonna go outside for 5 minutes. I just totally lost my train of thought. Woo! That went flying out. Anyway, get outside. Get outside. It is powerful. And it is, yes, it is transformative. Researchers took a group of people who are clinically depressed. Clinical depression is hard and heavy. The entire group, there was a control group and a research group, were on medication and in counseling. They had the control, or the research group, actually spend 5 minutes a day outside. And the power of that 5 minutes for 8 weeks, everybody's wellness score went up, and they couldn't believe how many people moved out of clinical depression by simply 5 minutes. Like, we spend way too much inside. So get outside, get outside. Now, take a look at the sleep and the stillness things, whether it's the definitions, any of the words that jump out at you, any ideas, what in those 2 sections encourage you? I think I remembered what I forgot. Anyway, when you go outside, take off your socks and shoes and put your feet in the grass. When we get our bare feet in the grass, our body will release up to 30% more healing restorative hormones. And so maybe that is your challenge, is get your tootsies in the green grass. Although our grass is pretty brown after this summer. It's not, it's a little more scratchy right now. Anyway, okay, solitude emotionally recharges us. Solitude is time off the beaten path, free of demands and distractions to meet with God. It is also an invitation to step away from the fray because minutes matter, hours make a difference, and a day away delivers. In the course of our time, we are going to stay focused on minutes. Most of these things, taking a day away, or a retreat day, I shared the brochure, or what can I do in 2 hours? I'm gonna have lunch with this friend who's bucket filling. I'm gonna go take a long walk at a park. But we're gonna focus in on crazy things that when life is very stressful and we have very little time, what can we do in a matter of minutes? Okay, so number 1, strategic snacking. Snacking can be really healthy for us if it's focused on protein. We never want to eat a simple carb on its own. It elevates our blood sugar terribly. Make sure any snacking you do includes protein. Really important. We talked about water already. Apples. So my son Joseph is absolutely convinced that an apple a day will keep the doctor away if you throw it hard enough. So keep a doctor in, or an apple in your pocket. Everyone stand up. All right. We're going to get our groove on. We know what to do this time. All right. And we're actually going to do two things. So, yep, just stretch a little bit because it does feel good just to, yeah. All right, so we're gonna do some star bursts or power jumps. We're gonna be real loud. Sometimes people kind of are a little quieter the second time. So 1, 2, 3, down and woo! All right, 1, 2, 3. Woo! 1, 2, 3. Woo! All right, and stay standing. There's lots of different ways to do anti-gravity moves. And another one is, right now, just pump your arms as hard as you can. Like just that little activity, like feels good because our muscles have not been doing that. So something as simple as that for a minute. Another one, we're gonna go back to preschool, okay? Right now, and we're gonna sing head and shoulders, knees and toes. All right, we're gonna do it pretty quick, and then the second time we're gonna do it really fast, okay? So ready? Head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Eyes and ears and mouth and nose, beep, beep. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Now we're gonna do it fast. Ready? Head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Eyes and ears and mouth and nose, beep, beep. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Woo! You guys are great. Again, if it feels like standing, just go lean against a wall and say standing. That can feel so good at this point. Do what is good. Do what is good. But you guys are absolutely terrific. Oh my goodness. All right, the last one. Who likes dark chocolate? Woo! Oh, wow. That, you guys... All right, dark chocolate at 72% and higher, so it's a little pricier. You have to really, the cocoa bean ratio has to be 72% higher. It causes our body to release calming restorative hormones. Yes, yes. And science has alerted us to the fact that on some forms of depression, a half an ounce of dark chocolate, 72% and higher, can be as effective as medication. It's that powerful. And so if you have the ability, if you like it and you can pick it up, keep it handy. And on those rougher days, and if you're in a daily situation where you're with other people who might sometimes get crabby, even if you don't like eating it, buy it so you can put some on their desk. Offer it to them. All right, buy a happy timer. So I do this. At home, I work out of my house. And so I have my happy timer, and I do better with an actual kitchen timer than my phone. There's something about that extra step. I can just hit the button all the time and do all my crazy little things. Breathe. And so right now, once again, just relax your neck and your shoulders and take some slow, deep breaths. It just feels good. And what that does, keep just some slow, deep breathing. When we slow down our breathing, breathe through our nose, our vagus nerve, really important nerve that goes from our brain in through behind our throat, through our chest, into our belly, our peritoneum. And when we slow down our breathing, that vagus nerve gets triggered and causes our brain to release calming restorative hormones. So I have here, Breathe Deeply to Activate the Vagus Nerve by Stanley Guan. Circle that. It's maybe a 2 to 3 minute read. It's pretty short. That's what really convinced me of the power of God's plan for breathe. What it does in our bodies. Hug. When was the last time you hugged someone for 7 seconds? You gave or received. Good, I see some hugs going around there. Like our bodies release calming, restorative hormones with a 7-second hug. What a strategy. And if you make that hug 20 seconds, watch out, world. Okay? So we need, and pets count if you have a cat or a dog. I don't know if it's as effective with a turtle, but cats and dogs, holding hands. And this summer, I learned, and I was delighted, because I spend my days by myself. Josh and I did life, and he was a hugger. That's where I really capitalized. And but we can actually wrap our arms. So right now, put down your paper, wrap your arms around yourself. There is it by the sensation actually causes our body to release calming, restorative hormones. So simple strategies that when we're having a rough day are proactive, okay? Thank you, guys. Lunch. Some of us might eat lunch while we're working. The power of stepping away, even if it is only for 20 or 25 minutes, if we can't do an hour, it's so counterintuitive. We think if we push through, eat at our desk, we'll get more done. We will be more effective. We will be brighter. Our brains need a break from that focused work. Do something different. Very powerful. Car sit. Some of us who work outside of the home and travel in, like maybe it's been a particularly rough day, or maybe you want to just develop this practice of when we pull in the driveway or the garage, of just sitting in there for a minute and honoring all the good that we were about and what we saw God at work. We honor, give voice to the pain. This was hard. And we ask God for what we need to head back into as we walk in the door, whether it's a house full of people or it's a quiet house. Like, Lord, what do you have for me? What can I give? Car sit. Laugh and smile. Oh my goodness, we know laughter is just so good for the soul. Just capitalize, laugh as often as possible, but smiling. And I think about the effects of COVID when we wore the masks and we weren't smiling at each other. Like when we smile, the muscles of our face actually cause our body to release calming and restorative hormones. It is a powerhouse. So whether it's a toothy smile or a closed lip smile, everybody smile at me right now. Like right now, you are causing great hormones to be released from your brain. Like simple strategy. Tomorrow, the first person you will probably see will be yourself in the bathroom mirror, I'm gonna guess. And so you give yourself a great big smile and you say, "Good morning, sunshine." And give yourself a big smile. And then drink a cup of water while you're at it. That's a good way to start. Sing and hum. So that vagus nerve that I mentioned earlier, it travels behind the throat. Talking does not count. But when we actually sing or we hum, it creates a vibration that causes our brain to release calming, restorative hormones. So it is a super strategy for keeping ourselves in a good place on a hard day. So as we travel in the car, it's so easy to multitask if, we're making phone calls or turning on a radio or a podcast, but can that be some time of either quiet or we're singing? Like, what kind of strategies can we capitalize when we're in the car alone? So I call them miracle minutes. So I love to drink hot drinks, and so I'm always putting my mug of water in the microwave for 2 minutes and 22 seconds. And during that time, I am moving, I am popping dark chocolate, I'm smiling, I work up to 4 or 5 happy hormone things that get my brain going. So I challenge you in some minute breaks, like how many things can we do? So take a minute now, circle those activities that naturally gravitate for you. And as you take a look at those 4 rhythms, these biblical rhythms that we see throughout Scripture, which of these is your strength? Which of these needs some attention in your life? So whether you jot it down or circle it or underline it, just think in that context and celebrate, thank the Lord for those arenas that we are enjoying some restoration, bucket refill, and then identify an area and that's going to be part of, like, Lord, what do you have for me in this? Like, what is the next small, steady step? And we're still going to talk about steady steps. But now we're going to move back to the screen. Oh, you know what? Is this working anymore? It may not be. Anyway, as we go, so as we begin into our final session, it's called Run the Race. And our Jesus invites us to run the race with joy and excellence. Oh, there we go. We're good. Oh, thank you very much, Jay. Teamwork going. Super. Run the race with joy and excellence. Now, is this going to work okay, yay. So look at what C.S. Lewis tells us. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. We cannot leave this place from a place of guilt and shame and regret. Like Satan, don't let Satan rob the gift of this message by looking backwards, okay? It's forward. We have been handed a way of life that is not conducive to life, but we can start. And we have only been together for a short time, but we're going to commission each other in a little bit to be the new models and the new mentors of something new and life-giving. So Ben Franklin tells us if you plan or fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so it is time for us to create our take-home plan that's going to be very personal and very doable within our reach, because it has taken us years and decades to get into this situation of exhaustion and overload. And it's going to be a process. And we're going to celebrate those small steps. So I work with a lot of middle-aged folks. And at my team, we call that damage control because we've been living for so long at an unsustainable pace. I love that we have some young people here. And you guys are already exhausted, hands down. I know that. But it's also a degree of its preventative care. Like, what strategies can I put in my life now that are going to create less cortisol damage for the rest of my life? And so I hope and pray that this might become a practice in your life, whether it's once a week, once a month. We call it the bucket awareness or bucket inventory. If knowledge is power, self-knowledge or self-awareness is a superpower. Like again and again, Psalm 139, examine your hearts. Like the Lord wants us to be aware of our good, bad, and ugly. And so we're going to take a couple minutes right now and answer these questions in light of this week. So what was bucket filling for you this week? What gave you joy and energy and restoration? What was bucket draining? What things drained my bucket that were out of my control? There were plenty of those. What things drained me dry that were in my control? Procrastination, too many guilt-driven yeses, late bedtime. What can I strategically do to refresh my soul and refill my bucket this week guilt-free? List some things. And then finally, whose bucket did I drain? So take a minute and answer those questions right now. As children of the living God, the Holy Spirit lives within us. And as we give him this little space of inventory, he brings to mind what to be grateful for, what needs attention. It is such a gift. So the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And so we are going to begin exploring what are some of our first steps. And really, that whole idea of that bucket inventory, if that can be a first step and a priority in our life that we are occasionally looking at, is a powerful thing. Oops. I mentioned it earlier, but this idea of rhythms of restoration. Sabbath, a weekly hard stop at some point. Sleep, a superpower. Stillness, inventory, and intimacy with Jesus. Solitude, a strategic advantage. Time away, minutes matter. Which of these is your strength? Which of these needs some attention? I think if you look on the bottom of page 5, there's a place to put that. Which rhythm right now in your life in this season needs the most attention? What is Jesus stirring in your heart? And baby steps. What is something that we can do in the next 24 to 48 hours that doesn't take too much commitment whatsoever? So share something on your notes with someone. Share a story, share a tip. Give yourself a bedtime tonight or tomorrow night. Enjoy 5 minutes outside. Buy dark chocolate. Hum on the way home. Give someone a 7-second hug. Jot down. Science research tells us that if we write down a goal, there's a greater percentage that we will meet that goal. So take a second and write down what is one thing, just simply one thing that you can commit to in the next 24 to 48 hours. And it might be something else in the how-to section that these are just some ideas. All right, and then we also need to talk about a first step. And so maybe this will be something that might take us a week or 2 weeks. But again, we want to jot it down. Maybe it's something from the pages before. But read the Sleep Survival Guide. Visit the website. Set up a doctor appointment. The need for us to get on top of high blood pressure, the need for us to explore sleep apnea, those things are life-saving and life-giving. Plan for a personal retreat. Call Camp Luther Haven, pick up a brochure. And whether it's 2 months from now or 6 months from now or 2 weeks, see if there's a spot available. Start a journal, maybe a bucket inventory journal. That's just special. Draw a picture and take a look at those questions and inventory those every so often. Explore videos for kids. I know community that you guys bought Run the Race. It's our series for families and for young people. And we really pray that that's a blessing. But it also works for younger kids. So explore the website. There's a store. Run the Race. I think for families, it's $19. 6 videos. Each video is about 10 minutes with 4 strategic pauses. Starts great conversations with grandkids or kids. Read Vantage Point. Spend 30 minutes with Jesus. Which of those? Jot something down. Next week or 2, what might you do? All right. I just keep doing. All right. What you know does not change you, but what you do does. And what you see other people do. And we are just so excited that you guys are going to be going through Vantage Point in small groups. Because you're going to hear how other people are strategically resting well. And that is going to cheer you on. So think about a leap of faith. Imagine 1 year from now that you begin today your journey with no guilt, no shame of exploring restorative wellness. How might intentional guilt-free rest impact your relationships, emotional well-being, spiritual vibrancy, joy, improving health, vocational passion? It's exciting. So right now, in groups of 2 or 3, we don't have time to move, but like some of us might need to move. Find 2 or 3 people. We might need to move a little bit. Answer these 3 questions. Which rhythm? Share either what's your strength or which rhythm you want to work on. Share your baby step and your first step. And whoever most recently ate popcorn, you get to go first. So if you ate popcorn. So go for it. Go for it. I think we're going to pull this back together. I love the sharing and the connecting. And this is going to be a topic that is going to be, really talking about the power of story sharing, of us sharing our story, like what's working and what's not, being open and honest, celebrating small wins and going, know it, I can't get a handle on sleep, or the idea of a Sabbath rest is being honest, and that we just welcome each other and we listen. First steps with our church. Pastor Reg has absolutely captured the idea that when we're going to keep the conversation going and create a community commitment, and that's going to be a change agent in this place. So lead the change. Take a look on page 6. Here are some lead the charge, lead the change ideas. Visit your notes, visit the website. The website is a wealth of information. It's a brand new. We don't have the blog up and going again, but there are lots of blog. There's great stuff for individuals at no cost, for families. Visit it. It's a wealth of information. Create your own Breathe team. So that 6-question inventory that you did, if you'd like a clean copy of that, email me and I'll send it to you so that you can begin a conversation with a friend. You can ask them to fill out that 6-question inventory. So this was 1.0 version. We also do a 2.0, which really tackles guilt in a really beautiful, life-giving way. We have 3.0. Anyway, we also have free coaching options with a group, Lori Zacharias. You can visit the website. You can visit the specialized link. And I will be sending the church an email that they can send off to people. So it's an easy click on the link. Lori is a beautiful follower of Jesus who's passionate about this ministry. She's a certified coach. She has a team of certified coaches. But no strings attached, 30 minutes to talk through this on a personal basis. And so that's a gift from her to you guys today. So we're passionate, bottom line, about gospel advance, kingdom advance. For that to happen, we have to be connected to Jesus, connected to each other. We have to be rested, so we're moving in a power not our own. And we're sent. And today we explored the idea of resting well. So I love this analogy of rocks and rice. So here are those 4 rocks that represent the 4 biblical rhythms of Sabbath, sleep, stillness, and solitude. This jar of rice represents your to-do list every week. And there's lots in there, packed in there. And so if we, as we move into the week, we think it might be an extra hard week, extra easy week, but we make some plans for some strategies, small steps of how we're going to move into this week. It's absolutely amazing. We can actually, all that rice fit in the jar. But if we just start with our to-do list and we give no thought to how I am going to strategically rest, we cannot get the rocks in. And so just with that little forethought. So question for us, are we cultivating a life we want others to mirror? That's the passion of this, because more is caught than taught. And we're gonna commission each other right now. We won't look back. We will look ahead to a new way of life Jesus longs for us to know and enjoy. We want to be the change and lead the charge for those we love, lead, and serve. We want to be first-generation Sabbath keepers who are working together here at Community to cultivate a life that honors God, feeds our soul, and fuels our very best go as we work together. So, run with passion, rest on purpose. Our vision, we envision a resurgence of churches, adults, and families, and kids cultivating a pace and passion for work and rest that is truly life-giving, transformative, and advances the kingdom of God. So, nothing about this message is conducive with the flow of our society. We have to go against the flow. And so that means we need other people cheering us on. The race we run is truly a relay race. It is not a solo endeavor. Think about the message that was given to you. I'm gonna guess it might have been run hard, run harder, drop dead faster. We want to be able to share, run hard, rest well. We are on a mission to change the world, and I think you guys are joining us with this message. All right, you were handed a quarter piece of paper. Can you take a moment right now and fill that out? Take a look at page 3. It asks you to fill in your inventory number. Can you please put your inventory number in the left top corner there? Because we're going to collect these, and I'm going to create a report that's going to bless and encourage. And part of the long term is we're going to maybe assess again using the 6-question inventory to see if we're moving the dial as the people of God in Warsaw, Indiana, on embracing a rest that increases our vibrancy and our joy and our good work. So today's date is September 20th. Inventory number, and then share your thoughts there a little bit. When everyone finishes, so in another minute or so, we will turn them upside down and pass them down the aisle, and we might have someone that will help pick those up. You guys know how to write and take notes as a group, you guys collectively. It's neat to see how much pen has been on paper today. When we do that, it really does speak life. Keep writing, because after I'm done, Pastor Reg is going to come up, and so you can keep filling that out. So as we close, encouragement is to choose life, my friends. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of sanity. And choosing life comes from Deuteronomy 30. That's another, write that down. Visit Deuteronomy 30. It's absolutely life-giving. There we go. So I want to share one last story and then kind of a close. So I grew up with a set of very German, very frugal grandparents. There were 9 of us cousins, grandchildren, and we got very practical gifts from them for Christmas and birthday, like pant hangers, picture frames. In college, we would get bags of quarters, and that was nice for the washing machine. So very, very practical. For our high school graduation, all of us got the same thing through the years, and it was a great big blue dictionary. My grandfather loved words. So we all grew up, gifts stopped. My grandma died. The year was 1999. It was December. We were all together, and Grandpa was so excited. He was 95 years old, and he had gifts for all 9 of his grandchildren. They got passed out. They all looked the same. We all opened it up, and when we opened it up, we found it was a great big blue thesaurus to match our great big blue dictionary that we had gotten decades earlier. And so I threw it in the baby bag, traveled home, found the blue dictionary, put the big blue thesaurus by it, and it sat there for 10 years. Fast forward 10 years, and our son Joseph at dinner said, hey, I need to do a homework assignment, and I need a thesaurus. This was about 2005, and Tim said, hey, I'll show you on the computer how we do it. And I'm like, hold it a second. I think we own one. let's do it the old-fashioned way. So I found it on the shelf, wiped off 10 years of dust, handed it to Joseph. He opened it up at the kitchen table, and he said, Mom, there's an envelope in there with your name on it, and you never opened it up. So we opened it up. In there was my grandfather's handwriting. It was Merry Christmas. You know, it was moving from 1999 to 2000, so celebrating the new millennial. And there was a check for $300. So my grandpa had died 5 years earlier at the age of 100, and I quickly found out that checks of people who died, you can't cash anymore. So I was given a gift. I said a polite thank you, and I put it on the shelf. We want to make sure this message does not stay on the shelf, but it comes out, and we open it up, and we see the individual rewards and blessings that God has for us in this message. And with that, I want you to run hard. I want you to break a sweat every single day, because what you do makes a difference. And I want you to rest in a way that honors our Father, feeds our soul, and fuels our very best go. You guys have been super. I think Pastor Reg is going to come up, pass the papers down. But blessings on the rest of your day.